Hi, I'm Laurie, transformational holistic practitioner, and I'm back again. I'm back again to elaborate a little bit more on the last video that I put up. So I want to talk a little bit more in depth about 2022. And in order to do that, I want to actually read some of the information that I have received in my channeling. And who my channel is a very large consciousness. And this large consciousness, the larger consciousness, is called the emissaries of light. And one part of that consciousness that speaks to me, whom is a very large, again, consciousness, and you'll get it by the name, it names itself Megalithicon. So if you can think of megalith, that means very large. This is a consciousness that has been with the earth since the beginning, and so all that has been going on and works with me, has been channeling for some time now with me. And I want to say that everything that this particular consciousness has told me has come to pass already. There are some things that are coming in the future, but it has told me many things over time, and everything that it has told me has come to pass in truth, and both personal and more on a larger scale for other people. So I really, I always trusted, but I've begun to trust in a greater way. And I love that I am supported by this particular energy, and there are others that I work with, but this is my go-to. So I want to share with you a little bit about 2022, like I said in my last video, and I'd like to share with you a little more in-depth about finances to begin with. So I'm going to read that information to you because I love it in the words that they say, and not the way I transcribe it to you, because it may come out different, but this is the way I receive the information. So this year, 2022, as I spoke of, is the year in creating a reality, literally, physically creating reality. And it's going to what you are desiring, what you're dreaming, what you're living for, what you want, is going to take on a physical dimension. And the more that we are awake, the faster that it feels like life is going. And the light is moving in a different way. It's picking up speed in a sort of way, and I spoke about that it feels like life is getting faster. And it's condensing and penetrating are the words that were spoken to me. And this will continue for a while as we begin more understanding and come into more of understanding of what's going on, and we're waking up within. The light moves quicker, actually, and it moves at a different frequency and faster. But this is only because we live in 3D. So this is for us in 3D. The light connects the divine in everyone, in all of us. And the light is the web throughout the universes. All are connected to it and are of it. And to choose light, we must move from our illusions. And the illusion that we carry does not really exist in this light. It is our illusion, so it does not exist. Now, within light, there are a zillion photons, and each photon is a message or information. And when you think of zillions of photons in the light, just imagine all that information all over the place and coming into us. If we're resonating with something, it has that ability to come in. So I want to give you a little bit of information about finances directly. Now, he spoke to me, and I call him a he because for me it just has a little more of a a male feeling, but it doesn't mean he's male, Megalithicon. And I call him Mega for short. This is what it has to say about 2022 to 2024. It first begins with this. Finances will be adjusting. Inflation will rise and then it will plummet. And when it all goes low is when things will shift into a newer way of finance. So there will be a cataclysm and alterations to what you know as currency today. So, wow, big changes coming to the finances, okay? You'll go through a dark period, as you call it, and the monies will lessen as the need for monies will change. So I guess life is going to be changing for us, and the way we need our money will change also in a way. And I kind of have a feel for this. I kind of understand, I can see a little bit of that picture. I think there will be somewhat of a barter and handshake type of situation going on. And I'll talk about that in a minute. I hope that's in my notes, I think, somewhere. Yes, coming up. There will be less need for money in the way we think of it. The stock market will go down and it will take the value out. In other words, more of the greed in the value, in what we place as a value of money. Money is a value system, but there are many other values also. And so we've placed that in too high of a disproportionate to other things in our world. There will be a global economy built on trust and helping each other. That was my favorite part. I loved it. I can just imagine that as we come together more in a community way and community mindedness, caring for each other, because we have less fear that someone is going to do harm or have more or whatever it is that's fear-based, that we will actually be trusting more and helping each other more. And I really like that. And then he goes on to say, then the new money will rise out of this time. So what the new money will actually look like, I don't think anybody knows because we haven't created that yet. This is to come. But this is what's in the realm of possibility, okay? So this is based on a new concept of value, actually. And this is being placed in the universe, in the web, by each one of us, because there is a part of us in consciousness that do not like the way things are. And so because of that, that's what's beginning to change, or why it's beginning to change. So for 22, it will be chaotic up and down, and no one will really know what to do in it. In other words, there's a lot of talk about people buying Bitcoin, selling Bitcoin, gold, silver, all kinds of things. What do I do? Stock market's gone crazy in the last day or so because there's, the Ukraine and Russia going on, and talks of China behind the scenes. So this is going to create a lot of flux, and so we're not going to know what to do in it. And it is the marker for things to come right now. So this is interesting. I have much more on finances, but I will talk more about that in the future. It's not all of it is wonderful. Some of it could be maybe a little scary or concerning. I think it is, in a way. But to use that concern in a good way. So to turn it around and say, this is a gift for me to know now, to prepare myself. And there is preparation to be done for what is to come. And that is up to you, what you feel a need to do or want. But I myself, and I know many others, as I've spoken to many, as I've spoken at, and worked at these different expos and conferences, many are making provision. And I'm sharing this with you so you will make provision too. Something I want to sort of take as a sidestep to this, and I want to talk about health for a minute, okay? So health is an important factor. The number one Googled search last year in 21 was how to heal. And so being in the what I call healing business, helping people clear what isn't in harmony with them is what really healing is, okay? Moving through those blocks, those clogged pathways, okay? That's where we're moving to. Now, what does Megalithicon have to say about this? He says, as you move toward higher frequencies, the lower will be forgotten. In other words, these lower frequencies, these patterns that we've carried for a while, they will just kind of fade away, okay? We will not be thinking about them. In other words, there will be less energy given to them, and we will be raising our frequency into more of knowing who we are and what we're doing in the world and clearing that old. That's what clearing it really means. It will just fall by the wayside, and we will put our energy into other aspects. So the lower will be forgotten. Medicine must move into the higher frequencies also. The higher frequencies are of more light and bring into yourselves, to bring it into yourselves, the light. Think about it. Think about the energy that's connected to the web that encases everything and is everything, and that we are all connected to that. Think about the light coming into you. So, and I talk about food. Food that has not been cooked, food that is raw, has much more light in it than dead, dense food. So if you want to bring in light, think about the food you eat. Think about the vitamins and supplements that you bring into your body. Those are of light also. I know for a fact that the certain beings, star beings, many of them actually don't eat dense matter like we do. They eat food that is filled with light, and so it matches where their resonance is. And the light brings the messages for healing for us also. So it kind of wakes us up and makes us think in a different way. It can bring about a different perspective, which then can bring about change for you and can also help your health, mind and body. It helps us let go and no longer focus on the lower frequencies and becomes then non-existent. So the light feeds our DNA and fills our DNA, our spiritual and our physical DNA. And the information comes through our senses. And I want to talk for a minute about our senses. So here's some thought for us, okay? And this has come through my channeling also, that we need to get more in touch with our senses. When our high self, when we connect with our high self, when we open ourselves to feel who we are in that connection to that, the soul, the spirit part that is always in and connected to everything else. When we access that, we are more in our authentic who we are, okay? And how this comes through us, this information of accessing this, it comes through our senses. So you figure the 5 senses, touch, smell, hear, feel, taste, okay. So we also receive information through that way also. So Mega talks about if you're sensitive, it's because your senses are more open, okay? And if you stop and think about this, children they're sensitive. They use their imagination also. And so they pretend, they get lost in this, and they're there, and all of them are there. You know, they're imagining who that is, and they're expressing through their senses. So the way they look, the way they act, the way they talk, they may talk in a different way. And so they're using all of themselves. And when you think about this, they're using their imagination, but we call it pretending. And so in this imagination, this is what we call conscious imagination. We're consciously doing it. And imagination is really not pretend. It is about experiencing something of another aspect. So it could be an aspect of yourself. I know I used to pretend a lot as a kid. I had imaginary friends. I pretended a lot of things. I still pretend sometimes. When I go into my little child sometimes. And it's a good thing to pretend, Actors and actresses, they pretend all the time. It's a conscious imagination, which we call pretend. But it's actually intuition that kind of comes through the child. Some aspect of them is sort of lighting up within them. And so I wanted to kind of, within the concept of senses, today I wanted to talk to you for a minute about pretending. Pretending really isn't pretend. So when I sometimes watch actors and actresses, I think there's an aspect of them that is actually real, or maybe they're reliving a part of something that they were possibly at another time, but that is been dormant possibly and has come alive through their acting skill. So, or when a child acts, pretends. So this is all conscious imagination, but the imagination is connected to the intuition. And so through that, we're accessing a part of ourselves. And when we do, we want to expand it. We want to feel that part, and we want to bring that into a larger scope, a larger expansion, so that we can really live within that conscious imagination and not feel that we're making it up, but that it is a part of us. It's all a reality to us. There is no real, what we call, pretend. It's just moving through our senses in a different way. And Mega really talks about the senses and getting in touch, because this is how the information comes through. So I wanted to bring this about and have a little understanding of this in this health concept of where we are going and what is opening up for us. So also here, another aspect to this that I want to touch on about within the health scope is that you don't want to just get rid of your story. You know, everybody has a story. I have a story, you have a story. The story is where we get caught up in our life about, okay? It's our life story. And you don't really want to get rid of that. You want to change it. You want to transmute it. You want to be able to talk your story without feeling the feeling of pain that goes along with it. So that means you don't want to give it power by living it. You want to become aware of it. You want to understand your story and maybe why you chose that story for this lifetime. And then you want to let it go. You want it to go to the light. And so one way that I think is really important for this is that you can imagine like this, if you would. Maybe close your eyes for just a moment and pretend you have on some type of an outer clothing with a zipper, okay? And you're going to zip it down, okay? You're going to zip it down. You're going to take that outer clothing, your outer shell, and all that it is filled of illusions. It's your story. It's how you came into the world. And you're going to zip it or unzip it, and you're going to step out of it. Step out of it. And then kind of let it drop to the ground and maybe kick it a little to the side, okay? Like it's not so important anymore. And you're going to feel who you really are that existed inside of that story. Who are you? The light that comes out of that story. There is light. There is you, the light that comes out of that story. The story is just the story. It's not who you are. You've zipped yourself and come out of the story. Now, here's a really interesting one, and I'm going to date myself on this. But way back, and I think it's somewhere in the 80s, mid-80s, there was a a movie called Cocoon. And you're probably going, oh yeah, I know that one. And if you don't, it's well worth watching, even though it's an older show. There's numerous actors and actresses, very well known in it. And there's a woman and a man. I think the man's name is Steve Guttenberg, and I don't remember the woman's name, who's the opposite person. But you'll see Steve plays this guy, young guy, okay, and he's kind of got, eyes for this woman, this young woman. She's a very pretty woman, but she has come from another place. So here he is in what we'll call 3D, all right? And here she is, she's in 3D also, but she's of the light, okay? And so he's kind of making eyes at her, and they're in a swimming pool, okay? And I don't want to tell you the whole story because I really think it's well worth watching. I mean, the person who put this production together, and I don't know who it is, really was ahead of sort of his time. How many years ago this was, when we weren't even talking about this. So here it is now, we are talking about it, but it's interesting that this came well before. So here's this young woman, Steve's got eyes for her, and she kind of wants to have eyes back for him, but she's going to do it in a different way. She's going to do it from her dimensional understanding. So what she does, and this is the part I want to elaborate on or get across to you, she peels back her outer person, what she looks like on the outside, and this light being comes out of her. And that's what I'm talking about. If you get the visual, this is just your story. And what's inside is really the light of who you really are. That's what I want to leave you with today. So I hope that you'll begin to think in these terms. Maybe when something's challenging in your life, the best way to deal with it is to begin to think of yourself in the light and move toward the light and understand yourself as that magnificent light being that you really are. I leave you with that today. If you're looking for more personal understanding and help along your path, please check in with me or give me a call. My information is easy to find. It's wellnesswithin.net, and I look forward to seeing you in the future. Thank you.